Alright, fam. Yesterday we reacted to Phil DeFranco, so might as well do it again. Yeah, I like watching his show and might as well watch it on stream, guys. Not sure if we can find like a bunch of videos to react to today. So we're just gonna do this. Excuse me. Alright, the internet is freaking out about the rise of torture streams, Starfield, extreme heat in schools, and don't know what else, and
Today, we're talking about the growing Black Mirror-esque problem of streamers being tortured.
yeah, I actually uploaded a video about this yesterday. It's, I don't, I mean, honestly, I would I'd do a closet challenge all day, bro. They're making thousands, like.
For profit. Part of China's imploding while another part's lashing out. We've got a growing health crisis that no one's talking about. According to science, everything's just too dang loud. We're gonna talk about all
The heck?
that and so much more on today's brand new extra large Philip DeFranco show.
But yeah, guys, I will be skipping through parts that I find, like, I'm just not interested in the story, so if you want to watch the full video, check out the link in the description.
Daily dive into the news, so buckle up, hit that like button to let me know you like these big shows, and let's just jump into it. Starting with, there are only
Let's just jump into it.
3 places in this world where, according to the House rules, you can actually torture people
That's his meme. He always says that.
for fun and or money. The Saudi embassy, but you need MBS's approval, the annual Nest Tickling Convention, and a Twitch subathon. And today, we're talking about the subathons because this latest subathon torture is the 3 days in a dark closet challenge, which sounds pretty self-explanatory.
Guys, I'm good on doing 3 days in a dark closet.
But then gets even more off the rails. Because recently there was a streamer by the name of Irby who
Actually, no, I'm good. I'll do it. Like, even if there's gonna be eggs thrown at me.
told his mom that if he could finish the challenge, he'd buy him a free car. And there,
Bro still has, like, the sweaters in the closet, like, I don't know why.
after just 24 hours, the mod gave up, but that is not where this ends. Because then another streamer who's a friend of Irby decided to take a crack at the challenge. But there, instead of getting a new car if he won, he agreed to demolish his car that he already owns if he lost. And so yesterday, he squeezed himself into a narrow closet with barely enough room for him to stretch out. But I guess because putting yourself in pitch black solitary...
Guys, I've been in jail before, so this is nothing to me. I was in solitary confinement for, like, months in jail. And then general population, where I got, like, assaulted a bunch, also in jail. It was all bad.
Confinement is not entertaining enough, you could also essentially torture this man for just a quarter. And for just 25 cents, his chat could flashbang him with a blinding white light and ear-piercing sound. And on top of that, they could pay to torture him with text-to-speech, blast him with a leaf blower, pelt him with eggs or ping pong balls. And during
it would just be really gross, so when you have a bunch of eggs in the room, hopefully you can clean them up, man.
this, he never really got a rest or a break. It was just endless torture, with it all culminating to the around 25-hour mark where he just couldn't take it anymore and he gave up, with him crying in front of his stream. And so understandably,
Dang, bro, with 24 hours of that, that's, oh my gosh, bro. But hey, I'm sure he made ton of GP. I mean, ton of gold, ton of money doing it, guys. Like,
you have a lot of people saying, what the fuck? I'm also one of them. Because in no world should any of this be normalized. Because also, like, this isn't new. I've seen stuff like this before on TikTok in the past. And in no world should these public platforms be
there's always TikTok live streams. Donate a galaxy, I'll eat a raw egg. That's what I saw before I even started the stream on TikTok and live stream.
Forming people subjecting themselves to abuse for money. Like, we're living in another Black Mirror episode here. Like, is this where entertainment's at? This makes the NPC streamer thing on TikTok seem so normal. We got people...
Guys, if you can help me get to 1,000 followers on TikTok, we'll do NPC lives.
LARPing CIA black site torture for 25 cents a pop. Like, there were even people watching this happen and they were like, he needs to stop, he's having a panic attack. And the truly unfortunate thing is there are a lot of people out there and even outlets that are talking about this as if it's not completely unhinged. Who are talking about this like, oh, he failed the challenge, and other people are like, oh, I could do it. And unless the platforms actually do something about it, other people are gonna follow, because I mean, look how much free press this guy's getting. Like, y'all, I don't wanna get a real job either, but there's gotta be some lines in the sand. But hey, that is this ridiculous situation and news story, some of my opinion, and now I pass the question off to you. What are your thoughts here? And then, the state of Alabama wants to kill people in a fun new way. Specifically, they...
Whoa.
want to execute a death row inmate by having him breathe pure nitrogen, with the state's attorney general filing documents asking the Alabama Supreme Court to set an execution of a man who was convicted for the 1988 murder for hire killing of a preacher's wife. Now, notably there, Alabama previously tried to execute the same guy last year by lethal injection, but they ultimately didn't do it because of issues getting an IV into his veins. And so now in their new filing, the AG's office says, let's do nitrogen hypoxia, which is when an inmate would be forced to breathe in pure nitrogen, cutting off their oxygen and ultimately causing them to die. And while Alabama is actually one of 3 states that have authorized this execution method, it's never been used. Though supporters of the method have argued that it's supposed to be painless. And actually, a number of death row inmates, including the one at the center of this story, have sought to block their previous lethal injections by saying,
It's painless. I'm for it, even though they did bad things. So watch the next one.
kids heading back to school in still sweltering conditions. But here for us. And then you've got this massive growing health crisis in America, but not enough people are talking about it, right? Because you have temperatures all over the country hitting record highs this summer, and now you have kids heading back to school in still sweltering conditions. But here's a huge thing. Tons of schools.
Dang, bro, still hot. Thankfully, the hottest part of summer is over, guys. We got like 19 more days of summer. Or 30, or 20, 21. That's all we have left of summer, guys. And once that's over with, it's over with.
Schools nationwide lack proper cooling systems or don't even have any air conditioning.
And we gotta deal with the cold. You know what I mean, guys?
At all. In fact, a federal report from 2020 estimated that out of 100,000 K-12 public schools in America, around 36,000 of them need updated heating, ventilation, and air conditioning systems. We're talking about more than a third of all public schools. And the situation has only been getting worse with climate change. For example, a 2021 study found that 13,700 public schools that didn't need cooling systems in 1970 will need them by 2025. Because public schools built before or during the 70s.
But there's no AC, bro. My school had AC. Man, my school was kind of ahead of its time. It had cameras, AC. This was back in 2007. I mean, cameras aren't that high tech. They better have cameras in freaking high school, right, guys?
These weren't designed for historic extreme heat. And understand, this isn't a problem just in typically hot parts of the country. In fact, experts say that one of the major issues here is that schools in cool weather climates are now the most ill-prepared. I mean, some of these buildings we're talking about were specifically built to retain heat, which is why you have
All right, guys, we're gonna watch the next story
right now. And then when you think of 3M, what comes to mind? For me personally, I think of either like picture hanging strips or like masks. But
I know, right? Just like random products. Like they're so rich, by the way.
they are an absolutely massive conglomerate with their fingers in everything. And they've actually been on the receiving end of hundreds of thousands of
I thought it was mostly medical supplies, but nah, they're way too huge for that. Huge conglomerate, guys.
lawsuits by military veterans over their earplugs, which those vets said failed to protect them from hearing loss during their military service. Now, the cases date back to 2016 with a whistleblower lawsuit filed on behalf of the U.S. government, and it is one of the biggest mass torture.
Hey, might as well try to sue the large corporation when something like that happens, right, guys? Even though, they're just really just buying it from China and, like, kind of reselling it, or, like most drop shippers do. Might as well go after, one of the richest things for the injustice, right, guys? 'Cause that's where they got the money.
In history, meaning that it is one of the largest groups of people who were all harmed by the same thing. These plaintiffs saying the earplugs were faulty and many were left with hearing loss and tinnitus. And all of it leading to the big news today, a $6 billion settlement. And the plaintiff's attorneys saying in a statement, this historic agreement represents
Everybody getting a big paycheck, but still sacrificing your health for a big paycheck. I'm not sure if I want to make that sacrifice, right, guys? Like, seems very painful and not worth it. I'd rather keep my health and be wealthy. Let's watch the next story. $6 billion settlement.
stories today. And then, do you think that we should ban cashless businesses? Because right now, LA wants to ban them. Because many places in LA have actually stopped accepting cash as a payment method. With a number of business owners saying it's just a more effective and safe way of doing business. Because they say
altogether they stop cash, right, guys? What?
That by accepting just plastic and digital payments, businesses can remove cash-related costs. Things like storage and transport, as well as attempting to minimize the risks of break-ins by limiting the amount of cash that they have on hand. However, according to people like City Council,
guys, that's good, right? They can't get robbed if it's cashless. Why are they trying to ban it?
Councilmember Heather Hutt.
I mean, it does make sense because you can't like just go up there and get change. which will be mega annoying, especially if you're like a tourist or something, and like you can't pay with your card for whatever reason. It's a whole new list of problems, right, guys?
the 10th district, this practice is leaving many customers behind. And a recent motion to ban cashless businesses reading, not accepting cash payment in the marketplace systematically excludes segments of the population that are largely low-income people of color. With that also going on to say that customers who are unbanked, elderly, or low income often rely on cash just to get by, and saying in order to ensure that all city residents, including those who lack access to other forms of payment, are able to participate in the city's economic life, we should adopt an ordinance that allows them to pay cash for goods and many services. And as far as how many people does this actually affect, a 2021 study estimated that 7% of California's population was unbanked, with nearly another 20% being underbanked, meaning they have irregular access to banking services. Very notably with this, LA wouldn't be the first to ban cashless businesses, with New York City, Philadelphia, San Francisco, and DC having all adopted similar ordinances and rules. Hell, even whole states like Massachusetts, Colorado, New Jersey, and Rhode Island have banned cashless businesses. But on the other side of this, you have people saying, why penalize a business for running it how they want to? But if a private business isn't a utility or an essential service, why does the government have to crack down on them? But for now, we'll have to wait to see what LA does. And in the meantime, I gotta ask you, do you think that we should ban
No, straight up, don't ban them. I think it's their right to, not use cash. But I hope they do use cash. I don't understand why they strictly go cashless. Why not just do both? I mean, obviously robbing, but
why not? And then Starfield has become one of the most anticipated video games in history.
Flip is a Starfield, guys. I did not know what that is.
And so, of course, it has been surrounded by controversy and craziness. Starting with the fact that there's now leaked footage online that shows that a lot of the stuff that was promised doesn't appear to be there. With that leaked footage coming from a variety of sources, but possibly the dumbest one being from a guy who stole 67 copies of the game and recorded 45 minutes of it, and all of that landing him with some fun felony charges. Also,
don't leak video games. Please don't leak video games, guys.
the specific details around that are kind of hilarious, because he not only stole them from a Memphis, Tennessee distributor, but he also sold copies on this site and then videoed himself shipping them out. Y'all, what is the number one rule about committing crime?
Bro, what is bro doing, man?
1, don't do it. But 2, if you do, don't videotape it. But as ridiculous as all that was, the big controversy now surrounds all the leaks that people are talking about. Because for the fans of the game, the belief that the developers lied is the biggest story. Right? I mean, you had one fan asking the developers, when I land on a planet, will I be able to explore the whole entire planet? And the response was a clear, yep, if you want, walk on, brave explorer. And so that, among many past promises, made players feel like it would be a seamless experience. But in one leaked video that I'm not going to show here, because I'm not fighting Bethesda on a copyright strike, it shows that a player
Oh my gosh.
eventually hits an invisible wall and is stopped. So you had a lot of fans that were pissed off, but also a number of fans feeling like people.
And so they probably just released the game. Gotta wait for patch updates if they even add that. Let's go on to the next story.
Is Evergrande stock plummeted?
You know how they just release games unfinished, right, guys? But yeah, never heard of that game ever.
As much as 87% yesterday, which if you're unfamiliar with them, we've talked about them a few times on the show, but they are one of the largest developers in China, if not the world. And notably, when that drop happened, it was the first day that it was allowed to be traded in 17 months. And so it really wasn't surprising to see a drop like this, especially since last month, Evergrande posted that between 2021 and 2022, it had a net loss of $113 billion. And it topped that shit Sunday with a very little cherry on top of roughly a $5 billion loss so far this year. And a really important thing to understand is that Evergrande's issues translate to more than just large creditors getting screwed. It also means that the company's having trouble raising cash that it could then use to finish its many unfinished projects. With China facing a major housing crunch in many parts of the country, these vacant, unfinished buildings not only mean fewer potential homes, but also more expensive projects if other developers want to either attempt to take them over or just start from scratch. But there is a small glimmer of hope for the company. It's a restructuring plan, because bondholders have 4 more weeks to look over these latest numbers and consider it. And I don't want us to get lost in the weeds into the
Okay. Stocks drop. Happens all the time. Let's go to the next one.
code to Franco to let them know we sent you. And then noise in America isn't just a news.
Watch a little bit of sponsor because, I don't want to get backlash for not talking about the sponsor.
Busy with work, kids, life's typical stressors. I don't always sleep well. And that's even when we do get to bed on time. But that is where today's
And he has some cool sponsors, like different ones every day, bro.
fantastic sponsor comes in. Beam. Right by now, you've heard me talk about Beam's delicious hot cocoa with 5 natural ingredients to put me right to sleep. It helps me wake up feeling.
Well, why do you make that face, guys? It's always a new sponsor, but he's got like filmed footage of him like using the product a lot of the times, almost all the time.
Feeling amazing. And not only
This guy puts a lot of effort. Now I know why his show is only 5 days a week.
is it delicious, it contains 5 powerful natural sleep promoters.
All right, next one.
Incredibly true if you live in or around mid to large sized American cities. I mean, your eardrums are being endlessly
Bro, whenever a car goes down my street, it's so loud.
assaulted by people blasting music, cars, trucks, buses revving their engines, planes taking off and landing, trains screeching down the tracks, helicopters buzzing overhead, emergency
Yep, I hear a train. Guys, a train is like 3 or 4 miles away from me, and I still hear the train.
vehicles like cop cars, fire trucks, and ambulances. There's sirens wailing. I mean, there's a lot of noise polluting
Yeah, that's life if we're just surrounded by everybody, right, guys?
our everyday lives. I mean, we've got concerts so loud, people nearby think it's an earthquake. Or we talked recently about Taylor Swift and Travis Scott, but Harry Styles did the same thing at Madison Square Garden.
Yo, what kind of outfit is that, guys? I did not expect Harry Styles to be so vibrant in that outfit, guys. Like, that's cool.
Back in 2021, with people at a boxing match in the theater below his concert showing videos of the ceiling shaking and comparing it to an earthquake. But
Dang, bro. I mean, the world's becoming and not even overpopulated, just more and more populated, right, guys? We got better quality of life and stuff. It's not like, we're the most dominant species in the animal kingdom, so, what else can we do, guys? Habitat other planets, build over the sea. You know what I mean, guys? Like, just build more structures in general.
here is the very important thing. While our world has gotten louder and louder over the years, we are still working with the same old ears that were designed to perk up at the snap of a twig, right? The sound
Yeah, guys, I've been hearing so many things so often, guys.
of an animal. So it's not surprising that a researcher at the University of Michigan who looked at the data from the noise detector feature on people's Apple Watches said the preliminary results suggest that potentially as many as 1 in 3 Americans are exposed to levels of sound that might be harmful to their health. Or because we each have these delicate microscopic hairs in our inner ear that pick up vibrating frequencies from the eardrum that then
I'm sure we evolved a little bit to, like, not always hear that stuff like that, though, right, guys? Stuff that just won't, like, will just bother us. And it isn't really, like that much of a concern for us, right, guys?
relay sound to the brain. But if those vibrations are too strong, they can stress or even break those hairs and the damage is irreversible, which is how we lose our hearing or suffer tinnitus. Now, notably, the human ear can tolerate up to about 85 decibels, or roughly the sound of city traffic before that happens. But noise isn't just something that you hear, it's something that you feel, right? Even noise as low as 45 decibels can trigger an involuntary stress response, raising
Yeah, it does, for sure, guys.
your blood pressure and heart rate and releasing stress hormones. So actually, if you are exposed to chronic noise pollution, you're liable to fall into a chronic state of stress. And that also means all the horrible, terrible, no good things that come along with it. Things like heart disease, hypertension.
That's why I kind of feel sad being a streamer, man. I don't want to bother. I gotta soundproof my room, guys.
Stroke, cardiac
I don't,
arrest, anxiety,
not try to talk too loud or yell, guys, but
depression, even an increased risk of premature death. In fact, researchers found that people who live in areas with high levels of transportation noise were more likely, among other effects, to suffer major cardiac events within 5 years. And this persisting even when they controlled for other environmental and behavioral factors that could contribute to poor cardiac health. And then, as it turns out, when the sun goes down, noise becomes extra dangerous because it disturbs sleep. And notably,
dang, bro.
that's even when the person doesn't remember being woken up. And so that same study tied higher levels of aircraft noise exposure to heart-related nighttime.
Dude, for everybody that lives near an airport, I feel bad. I apologize. We need better soundproof infrastructures. Walls are like super thin nowadays.
Deaths less than 2 hours after the noise, which is why the World Health Organization recommends no more than 40 decibels of nighttime noise outside bedrooms and 30 decibels inside bedrooms to prevent health effects and ensure high quality sleep. But nearly a third of the US live.
Guys, I just be using my fan at night, and it helps a little. But I can't really use my fan while I'm streaming because my microphone starts malfunctioning, so I'm like down bad, guys. And I just had spicy food, and it's summer, so I'm kind of like sweating and stuff.
Lives in areas exposed to noise levels of at least 45 decibels. And the thing is, that's probably an underestimate because that's from the Department of Transportation analysis that they did in 2020, which was a time when the country was generally quieter because we were dealing with lockdown. And something the data also
Sorry, guys, I slept 8 hours, but I'm still yawning. I don't know why exactly.
exposes is just like pretty much every other bad thing in the universe, it's disproportionately affecting poor, black, and brown people. And that's largely because historically they've been near stuff like waste dumps.
Oh, I'm also poor, so yeah, it affected me.
industry and airports. Policymakers have failed to protect them from noise pollution the way wealthier neighborhoods have been cocooned from it. But then, digging even further, we find that loud noise especially impacts children, with studies showing it can actually stunt a child's cognitive development, especially for language-based skills like reading. With a neurobiologist telling NPR, young children's brains are craving sound-to-meaning connections, so it's very important that the sounds around them be nourishing and meaningful. And the outlet explaining when their environment is quiet enough for them to pay attention to sounds that are important or particularly interesting to them, it is a powerful teaching tool. But when their environment is constantly polluted by meaningless noise, they get distracted and their ability to concentrate
Dang, bro.
suffers. And we've actually known this as far back as 1975, because that's when researchers studied a New York public school where one side of the building sat right next to extremely loud train tracks. And they compared the students on either side of the building and found that those on the noisier side performed worse. And so what did they do? The school soundproofed those classrooms, and the transit authority cushioned the tracks with rubber pads. And boom, like that, a year later, the students' reading scores jumped as much as a full grade level. And so now
That's good, but guys, we need a solution to this, man.
you actually see some schools like this one in DC experimenting with different ways to
Maybe not like some 3M earplugs, but I'm talking about infrastructure-wise. Everybody built their houses with like the cheapest stuff possible without that much noise reduction in mind, right, guys?
make the classroom quieter. With everyone using intermittent sign language, students wearing special classroom shoes made of cloth and soft rubber soles. But it's also not just the children who can benefit from a little more silence. Right? Your adult brain also has to work extra hard to sift through all the noise to find the sounds that you're looking for. And that can genuinely be physically exhausting.
Thank goodness, as a streamer, I wear headphones. I mean, it helps a little, but not a lot.
Some people who are hard of hearing describing the experience of listening fatigue. And in today's technologically saturated age, even when you're sitting at home insulated from outside noise, you're still constantly being
Alright guys, let's go to the next one.
into the ocean with the approval of the IAEA, with many scientists agreeing that it will have a negligible impact on the environment.
Fukushima water release. I don't know what this is about.
With this being a process that'll take 30 years as they slowly release it. But China is acting like Japan unleashed a toxic plague into Asia, with China's wolf warrior artist releasing this image.
Whoa, that's super cool. I don't know what that is, but that's cool.
Depicting Japan.
That's Japan? I mean, it looks like a giant monster. I don't think it's Japan, guys. We actually have like some, you know, anti-Japan art right here. Let me know what you think about that.
Right, first, China calling them selfish and irresponsible. And now China says it's blocked all seafood imports from Japan despite all testing of the water and fish showing it to be very safe, which is why Japan is now taking China to the WTO over the seafood ban. And a key thing here, scientists have pointed out that China actually releases untreated water from its nuclear plants every day that is actually more radioactive than what Japan is releasing.
Yeah, come on, China, that's being hypocritical.
That still hasn't stopped Chinese citizens from harassing Japanese businesses and schools with phone calls and throwing rocks at their embassy in China. So you've got Japan asking China to tell its citizens to chill the fuck out, China saying it has no idea what Japan's talking about. And as far as Japan's other neighbors, South Korea said that if Japan is following the regulations and doing it safely, then who cares? Taiwan and the Philippines basically said,
Guys.
whatever. But in Hong Kong, they declared Japan an enemy of the whole world. And then China has demanded that the British...
Dang, bro. Didn't expect them to beef again. They do have historical beefs, though. They go back a while.
Museum return all of its Chinese cultural relics that it stole. And also adding that the British Museum should return all of their stolen relics to their home countries. Or we're talking Egypt, Greece, India, Nigeria, not just China. And they say the vast majority of their 8 million relics are stolen from other countries, and that the UK has a bloody, ugly, shameful colonial history. Which, damn, like, I'm not a fan of the Chinese government, but I don't see the lies here. Like, when you go to the British Museum, it's like if a bank robber had their heists on display. Like, the
Alright, guys. That's the video. Thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Let's look at a few comments. I want the Lucario, picture. Sorry, guys. I still feel a little underslept. I'm glad people are talking about how awful noise pollution is. Most people think of just blasting music in public spaces, and people are just constantly being bombarded with loud noises at all times. As an autistic person overwhelmed with noise, oh yeah, I feel the same way. Oh, sorry guys, I feel a little sleepy. Like, comment, subscribe. Check out Phil DeFranco in the description. And I'll see you guys next one. Peace out, everyone.